right, so we're going to be studying the speed and velocity of short track speed skating in this example, okay? This is an example for the speed and velocity section of the performance task. I Googled for speed skating speeds, and one of the things that came up is this Wikipedia entry on speed skating, and down here I have world records of speed skating. So notice that what I have is the distance, a lot of information about the athlete, and the time. I'm going to have to do a calculation to find the speed, okay? This is important. So what I did was I copied the whole thing, all right, and I pasted it into my spreadsheet like this. Now here's some important things. I got rid of the rest of this. I didn't need this information, so I'm going to delete. I should be able to delete this. I'm going to delete this information here because the only thing I really need to know is the speed, the distance, and the time in order to calculate the speed. Now here's something else that I want you to notice. Okay, the time is given in seconds to the 1,000th of a second. This is 39.937 seconds. You can see it's on the right side of the box. The computer can do math with that. Notice that the rest of the times also include minutes, and you cannot do math with this the way it's set up. So I had to do a little bit of math on my own. 1 minute is 60 seconds, so I did 60 seconds plus 23.007 seconds, and I got, for example, 83.007 seconds, okay? Notice that jumps to the right side of the box. So I would replace the minutes and seconds with all seconds. You'll probably have to do that, okay? Depending on what you choose, you may even be looking at hours, all right? So there is no one right way to do this. That's what makes it a little bit tough. Do whatever works for you. Ask me if you have questions, all right? So once I ended up with everything translated into seconds, you can see I have the men here and then the women. I translated everything into straight up seconds, and then I wrote a little formula. And here's what my formula looks like. I'm going to write it over for you. I said equals. Remember, the equals tells the computer you're doing math. And I did the distance, and then I did the slash for divided. So I just clicked on the box with the distance, and then I clicked on the box with the time, and then I hit enter, and there's my answer. And remember, then once you have that answer, that formula written, you can hold the little square and drag it all the way down. But remember that the computer cannot do math until after you have translated those minutes into seconds, okay? Obviously, the other thing I had to do, notice that this is labeled with meters. I had to take off the meters in order for the computer to do the math for me. Once I have all of that, I can now make a graph. And so here is the graph that I'm going to make, all right? I'm going to highlight just the data I'm using. Notice I leave off this other stuff that I was using to do my math. I don't really need that anymore. I'm highlighting just the data that I'm using. I'm going to go to the Insert Chart button, or remember, you can go also up here to Insert Chart if you can't see that on your Chromie. Okay, now here's the important thing. Again, there's no right way to do this. I'm going to use this scatter plot that the computer is suggesting to me. You may want a line graph. You may want a bar graph. It all depends on what is right for your data. That's what makes this tricky. Okay, then I'm going to come here to chart types. I'm going to see, do I want to use row 4 as headers? Well, I suppose it doesn't make much difference. Do I want to use column C as labels? Wow, it looks weird if I don't. Okay, so let's not do that. Do I need to switch rows and columns? Definitely not. That's even weirder. Okay. What happens if I aggregate column C? Oh, that's strange. Okay, so mess with that and see what looks best to you. Remember, here is where you can choose the different chart if you need it. Then we're going to come over here to customization. I need to give this a title. Speed versus distance is really not enough. So I'm going to call this speed and distance of short track speed skating. That's much more specific, okay? I maybe even could call it world record speeds of short track speed skating, something like that, okay? Now my horizontal and vertical axes have already been labeled, but I need to add to them. My distance is measured in meters, so I need to add that. And my vertical axis is then measured in meters per second. Important to have those labels on there, okay? The rest of that I'm going to leave. You may end up wanting data labels for when you go to write about this. When I put the value in, it looks really strange and I don't like the way that it looks. You may find the value to be useful because it will help you to write about this. Although, you know what, I think I am going to put the value in, and then I'm going to do this. Okay, I forgot to do it before. I'm going to highlight all of my final answers. I'm going to come up here to Format, Number. I'm going to choose Number, and look, that reduces my significant figures by a lot. And now this is easier to read. Remember, it's so nice to have the data labels on there when you go to write about this. All right, so here we go. I'm ready to write about this graph now. I'm looking for, I need a new doc. You could write in your old doc if you want, okay? I'm writing in my new doc because I haven't made one yet. So here I'm going to come to my graph. I'm going to copy the chart, but remember that your Chromie may not let you copy. You may need to click on the graph so it's got the blue box around it, hold the control button and press C if that's what your Chromie wants, and then we're going to come over here to my new document and I'm going to hold the control button and press V, and here comes my graph. Okay, now I'm going to write about it. Remember that I am aiming for the excellent category here in my rubric, okay? The outstanding category, excuse me, I want to be outstanding. Graph and discussion paragraph of speed and velocity in your sport. 6 or more actual numbers of data. So I have more than 6 numbers of data in my graph, so far so good, all right? What I need now is a discussion paragraph that's better than proficient, okay? At least 6 sentences discussing speed and velocity, 4 or more actual numbers of data. So I have to talk about all of that. Here I go. Let's find out how fast I can type, okay? Okay, this graph shows the speed of short track, speed skaters at different distances. Okay, so there's my opening sentence. I've talked about what the graph is showing, okay? The general trend is that the longer a distance the skater is going, the slower their speed will be. Okay, so I've noted a general trend. See, I'm seeing this trend right here. I'm going to talk about these outliers in just a minute, but let me talk about the general trend. So I'll say, for example, and I'm going to have to refer back to my table for this. That's J.R. Selsky there, 12.52. He's the highest, okay? So let's talk about him. J.R. Selsky, an American, okay, was the fastest at 500 meters and 12.52 meters per second and 11.03. We need to find out who that is. I wish that it was putting the labels on, but it's not doing it for me. It happens sometimes. No Jin Q, wow, look, holds 2 world records. That's amazing. Okay. No Jin Q was the slowest at 3,000 meters and 11.03 meters per second, which is still nothing to sneeze at, okay? Okay. So then if I had the chance, I would talk about the ladies. That's that lower tier there. The ladies show a similar trend. And I'll add this later when I'm not typing so that you don't have to watch me type the whole thing. So check it out on the example. Okay, la-di-da, la-di-da. Now I'm going to talk about the outliers. Okay, there are 2 outlying speeds. These are the relay speeds. So the distance is long, but each skater is only skating a small portion of it. And when I fix this up later to put it in as an example, I'm probably going to add those actual numbers just to make it sound really good. You know, the more numbers you can put in, the happier I'm going to be, the more you're going to like your grade. So I've talked about speed. Now I need to talk about velocity, okay? velocity is also an important component of short track speed skating. All right. The track is a small oval, so the skaters are constantly changing direction. This is a change in velocity. Okay? It also adds to the challenge of the sport. I may flesh that out a little more later when I'm doing the example, but it lets you see how I have now discussed both speed and velocity. I have a properly labeled graph with real data from a real stuff on the internet. I didn't just invent it myself. And you can see that as I've begun to write about it, I am including actual numbers from my data, okay, to support my statements. So this is an example of the outstanding level category. You'll be able to look at this completed example on your Google Classroom. And if you have questions about how to apply it to your own sport and your area of interest, please let me know. Okay, this is a challenging task, but I think you're going to be really successful at it.